Welcome to
Welcome,
Half Brain.
Half Heart. This week has been a little bit of like herding cats for me. Sounds like it's might have been a little bit of the same for you.
Yes. And now that I have a cat, I really understand what that means. And this Oh, yeah, it has been busy, um, good, but busy. Busy for you?
um, and also equally like wonderful. Like some good things seem to be popping up and things out of the blue, but very like do it tomorrow. And I'm like, "Wait, what is this? What do you like? I got one. Somebody reached out to me that I'd worked with previously at Weight Watchers. And he's like, "Oh, I think you might be good for this role, or not even a role, but more of there's a contract work that needs to be done. Um, and it'll move a little bit quickly or whatever." And I was like, "Okay, that sounds fine. Let's set up the meetings." And then literally like an hour later, he's like, "So are you available tonight to talk to somebody?" And it was like 7 o'clock. And I was like, I mean, yeah, sure. So I got on a call, and then we had to do another call the next morning. And then they were like, "Can you come out to California?" And I was like, "Can I understand? I'm not going to shirk this, but at the same time, do
Wow.
you understand what that means?" And so it's like, then it was like that. Then it was something else. Then it was like this. And then I was like, okay, these are all good things and I'm welcoming it all. I just need to go into a corner real quick and one, do some breathing and then do some, how does this like map?
Yeah, how does it all fit together?
And then I don't know if you feel this way, uh being that you are like your own boss and you're like, I'm trying to do this and I'm also doing this and I might need to expand this because it's going to pay the bills, but I really want to do this and there might be something that I've like, there's a part of me that's like, am I don't want to say am I being distracted, because again, I am very grateful for everything, because again, it will set me up for a little bit, hopefully more flexibility in this area, a little bit more credibility in this area. But it is a little bit of like, can I do everything? Like, who, like, am I developing the skills that I need to develop to do what I need to do if I'm spreading myself into all these areas? But also, I'd like to get paid. Bills would like to get paid. So, like,
You know, the funny thing is, I had the exact same thoughts like this week as I was looking at all of the projects that I'm working on.
uh,
And I increased my private practice because at one point I decreased it so I could really have the energy and focus to focus on the new business. But then, of course, the new business 2 years later, still not bringing in any money.
right.
So I had to increase the private practice. So grateful that I can do that. But yet, it then doesn't give enough energy, or it decreases the amount of energy and focus I have to do this. So it's kind of like catch 22,
Oh,
trying to find the right balance between these things to make sure that this doesn't atrophy, that I'm still growing this business, what I really want to do.
mm-hmm.
But now I still have to focus on what pays the bills and doing that well, which takes energy. And this year I decided, and you're a part of this, to try partnership. Like, what does it
Yeah.
mean to be in partnership with other people? And is
Mm-hmm.
that maybe a path for success? So, kind of, but now I'm in what, at least three different partnerships. So, making sure that there's one energy, reasonable energy going to
Yes.
holding up
E-
my end,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
but also evaluating, is this someplace I really want to be? Is this are these people that I really want to work with? Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
clearly already people I like, but are these
Right.
people that I can really work with? And what does that mean? And trying to kind of listen to spirit to help guide and put a little energy here, but also I don't want to be the what's that saying? Uh, master of all trades. or not.
A jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, I knew I didn't have it right. Exactly. So I also don't
Uh-huh.
like, I know that there's something about when you focus on one thing and do it well.
Mm-hmm.
I have some of these, I have a toe in all these different kinds of water. So it is kind of, how do you make these decisions? And so I'm striving to spend more time in meditation and just really dig deep into spiritual guidance and allow
Yeah.
spirit to kind of guide me in all of these directions and every step of the way, and not stress out about what does this mean? What do people think? What is, the bills are paid. Like, got that done. And then the rest is up to spirit and time and trusting that I'm learning something that'll be useful and I'm helping people along the way, however that goes, and trying not to stress about it.
Mm.
That's where I
Hmm.
landed.
Um, so many things, but the one thing I definitely want to make sure I say to you is I recent or maybe like in a past year found out the quote because my mother used to tease me with that a lot because I was always like, "Oh, I'm interested in this. Oh, I want to do this." And, "Oh, I want to look at this." And like and I was she would always just be like, "You can do everything, know everything." And I'm like, well, I'm just interested in a lot of things. So I'm like, and hello, internet, before that, encyclopedias, like books, libraries, all the stuff. So anyway, I found out that the full quote is, and I just pulled it up, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one.
Oh,
Uh So all this time they've been making us feel bad because we were like the jack of all trades. But the rest of the quote is, it's often to be a jack of all trades than to be a master in just one area.
well, thank you. Thank you. I needed, thank you, Spirit. I needed to hear that today because I was definitely feeling like, oh my gosh, I've got too many irons in the fire or too many focuses.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not a good thing, but maybe it is. And ultimately, I guess, does it really matter? Half that quote, the whole quote, what really matters is
Yeah.
what
How are you feeling? How are you showing up? Yeah.
exactly, how am I feeling? How am I showing up? What's spirit calling me to do? I mean, all these things are in psychology that I'm doing. That they're
Yeah.
and there is a lot of overlap. I'm doing
Yes.
one project, some more sports psychology stuff, but it's still
Yeah.
stress related. Right? It's still focusing a lot on stress.
Hmm.
We're doing DEI stuff, but we're still focusing a lot on
Yeah.
stress, right? So
Hmm.
ultimately, my North Star is still stress.
Yes.
These other things are just kind of variations or jutting off of that. But that's
Hmm.
still my major love is to help people figure out because I stress kills. Stress
Yes.
is the thing that
Yes.
exacerbates whatever else you got going on. If
Hmm.
you don't manage your stress, you're going to make it worse, right?
Exactly.
Whether that's eating, DEI, like whatever it is.
Yep.
So, I'm both a master of stress and
And so the other thing I was thinking of is this whole, and I think it's I don't know, I'm going to say it's a Western because I feel like I blame everything on like Western thought because honestly, that's the root cause of a lot of problems around here. Um, but I think there is this focus on like what's the destination and where are you going and what are you trying to kind of achieve more so than what's the journey on that
mm,
on that path to getting to wherever you want to be. And we're so focused and trying to control like the end result that
mhm,
we miss all of this, right? um and I think and I think what was it last week, I was like, I'm saying this stuff because I think I need to hear it too.
yes.
It's about, right, like you said, how do I feel about the actions that I'm taking, where I'm spending my energy, what am I excited about it? Am I completely drained? Am I dreading getting up in the morning and getting on these calls? Or, how am I feeling, and being very in tune and checking in on that? Because then I think that is more important and more important to respond to than the, like you said, like how do I appear externally? Are people going to think, like, oh, she's all over the place or she's doing all this?
Mhm.
Um, So I'm like, okay, so how do I like, am I still excited about this? Do I still, not that it's going to be easy,
Yes.
but do I still have this excitement about this partnership, about this project? And maybe, some of these things, does it feel like it's going, it's making some type of movement? Maybe not the movement that I want to see, but like it's good pace. I'm getting something out of it. I can apply it to, maybe another project. Like you said, it's all stress. So what is this? What am I learning? And so just really kind of suspending the like harsh judgment that we sometimes have about what it should look like and how quickly it should get there.
Yeah.
I'm one of these companies that I'm going to be contracted with for the next like 3 months or so, and potentially longer. I was just so impressed about like how it's a startup, and I was so impressed how like everything was like tied in together and all of this data, and I was just like, I mean, and obviously it's like venture capital people and all of this, and I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh this is so. And then I went to the website to just kind of like get some more data points, kind of talking points when I was talking to like the big boss. And I realized like this had been like since I think they launched it first in maybe 2010 or something like that, or maybe even before that. And it was like I just remember it was like early 2000s, and then it had something like 2010, and then it had like 2018, 2019, and then now or whatever. And those were like the big milestone years. But it was ultimately like started it kind of probably slowed down on some things, or maybe it was self-running in this capacity, and then it was like a spark of like, oh, it could look like this, and then it was like an uptick in like, oh, this is what happened in this year. And it just reminded me that like, and I'm obviously in a different stage than you are, and you have different responsibilities, and also this company is backed by somebody who has millions and millions of dollars, so they're not necessarily like am I getting my child to school and getting them and thinking about college for them or whatever the case may be. But it just was this a good reminder of like everybody regardless is on this journey, and it's not a couple of days, it's not a couple of weeks. It will feel like that probably when it takes off, that it'll be like, oh my god, it was so quick. But up until then, you never, and I have this conversation with my mom all the time. I'm like, you never hear the pain of the story or the struggle, or if you hear it, they talk about the struggle as if it was like 3 days or a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden everything was like boom, 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 and they became a star or they were discovered or this. But you don't hear how like, or we don't pay attention, I think, to the details. I think about some of these stars that are like, oh, I had to live in my car, or like The Rock, who was like, I had 75 cents and I was playing, what was he playing, like Canadian football.
Exactly.
And you hear it and you're like, oh my gosh, that was so harsh. But then he got famous and made money. Well, no, I mean, it was like years between that, right? So anyway, that's my little soapbox moment.
No, thank you. And I agree. And I try to, in those moments, especially the moments when I'm thinking, why am I doing this? Right? There are other organizations that are dedicated to helping Black women with mental health. Why am I doing this? Why bother? Why do we need one more? Well, certainly there can't be enough organizations that help Black women with mental health, because that's such a big thing, and we don't have enough. And my flavor is for some people and something else is for other people. So I all know that. But there are moments when things get really difficult, or when I'm trying to pay
Mhm.
a bill, when I forget that. And I think of something that I wrote in one of my books about famous people who have had failures, like Michael Jordan, who got kicked off of his high school.
Mhm.
And you think, how is that even possible, right? How could
Mhm.
that even happen, that Michael Jordan could be kicked off of any basketball team? Like,
Mhm.
even if you don't know anything about basketball, everybody knows Michael
Right.
Jordan, right? So it's just, and Walt Disney, whose first
Mhm.
company also failed. And I think Oprah also got fired from one of
Oprah
her
got fired, and she got fired. Again, they try to make you think, oh, it was like, oh, she was 20 or age 18. She was young. No, I think she got fired when she was 40, 41 or something like that.
So again,
Right.
so those things, when I'm at that point of, oh my gosh, this is just too hard, I just don't know what I'm doing, I go back to those and go, okay, what is spirit telling you? Spirit telling
Exactly.
you to keep going, that there is something here, that if you've helped one person, which I know already I've helped at least one person, if you've helped one person, this is worth it.
Mhm.
Keep going, but also to balance it so that you are not getting yourself in more debt so that, that you're not draining yourself so much that you can't keep going.
And
And
I think when you say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
that's the balance. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, in debt, when you said that word, immediately, I think I typically always think of like financial debt, but the way that you just said it, it's that energy debt, right? That emotional debt, that all of that debt with like how you interact with your family, right? Like, am I creating this deficit that I'm then going to have to pay back or try to down the line?
Rebalancing things. And I had to do that because
Mm.
I was
Mhm.
creating both financial debt and emotional debt. This was
Mhm.
too much. And it can be hard to have that conversation with people sometimes. They don't, I find that sometimes people don't quite understand what you mean
Mhm.
when you say things, depending on, I tried to have that conversation with one person and she was like, something like you can't think of it as an exchange for money. And I was trying to say it's not that I was so focused on exchange for money because I was really kind of trying to look at my time and the
Yeah.
fact that I have to balance my time with the fact that this is not really paying yet.
Mhm.
And she just wasn't getting it. And when I stepped away and realized that if the person's not fully understanding me, then it's not helping me clarify these things. To either find somebody that understands what I'm saying or to just take it to spirit, take it to meditation. And when I did that, I was able to come up with the answer. And that helped me clarify recently. I had this great idea for doing this two two session long focus on mother daughter relationships. And so the first one was going to be really getting everybody, the participants, to focus on our history and kind of how we got here, looking at historical roots. And then the second session was going to focus on the more personal, really helping people map out,
Yeah.
well, what do you need to do for your relationship. But then I looked at the calendar, right? And I realized that the second session would have been for Memorial Day weekend. And that's where this clarity helped because I thought, okay, I could reschedule this meeting and put it on another day. But I set up my schedule so that on the first and third Saturdays of the month, I have a client during this time. And then on the second and fourth, this time is set aside for
Okay.
specific.
Mhm.
So if I were to reschedule so that it wasn't Memorial Day weekend, then I would be sacrificing client time.
Mhm.
One, the client may not like that, although sometimes I do have to cancel for other reasons. So that's
Yeah.
not so bad.
Right.
But the client's paying.
Mhm.
At this moment, I don't
Right.
this business is making all of maybe $100 a month,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
So that clarity helped me say, no, this doesn't make sense. Let's find another way. And what I decided to do is still meet that Memorial Day weekend,
Uh-huh.
but have it be a more open meeting. Whoever shows up, shows up, and I
Right.
will support them as, and then to do
Mhm.
a one session meeting. I
Yes.
think two would have been great, but at this moment, it doesn't make sense given
Mhm.
all of the factors. And being
Right.
able to have that clarity so that I could look at those factors and adjust things that make sense energy wise, energy, money, energy, time,
Mhm.
balance with the other things that I'm doing.
Yep.
That is what is helping me keep my inner peace, right? And not feel
Mhm.
stressed about this. When I wasn't doing that, I was feeling stressed. The bills weren't getting paid. I'm putting in more energy and not getting any return. And my stress level was going up. So
Right.
really figuring that out and helping people. I think that's one of the things I've done as a psychologist. I've helped entrepreneurs with
Yeah.
that. When it's yourself,
Oh,
sometimes
no, you can't see the forest through the trees when it's yourself.
totally, totally.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love that. I was when I put my head down, I was like, oh my gosh, I think Audra and I had like the same week because like literally in so many different ways. And I don't know if that example happened, that conversation happened this week or not, but I had a similar conversation because again, these different opportunities are coming up. And I kind of felt like, is there a conflict? Because two of the companies, well, one of the companies that I am contracting with is kind of operates in the same area as a company that I've been contracting with.
mm,
And so I was like, I want to do them, but I obviously want to operate with integrity and transparency and all of these different things. And so I had mentioned to the first company, I'm like, hey, I'm consulting with this other company. And again, weighing this idea of this one company, it's been like 6 months, right? And so it's kind of ongoing work, probably some opportunity to help to lean in a little bit more, which obviously would be a bigger paycheck and all these different things. Um, and so I'm not, but this other project is more high profile, more visibility, and more all this stuff. So I was like, I don't necessarily want to lose this one, but also this is time boxed.
Yeah.
So if I mess up this over here for 3 months, and then you guys decide, hey, we're not moving forward, or we're not moving forward with you, or whatever the case may be, then now I'm nothing, right? Like, not I'm nothing, but I go from like a full bucket to like, wait a minute, what's left? And so, but I was having this conversation with a friend, or a former colleague, and it was just like, I was like, you were completely inventing this other situation that doesn't even exist, and it was like, well, and it was like it felt like from a place of fear, and maybe their own fear, rather than of what I was really trying. Because like, I'm having this conversation not out of fear, but more of like, what's the right way to go about it? How do I kind of have this conversation and provide transparency, but also hopefully get them to understand that they're like, I can separate and I can do this.
Right.
While there might be a little bit of overlapping, it's not trade secrets that are being shared. It's literally my skill set and my experience in being in the wellness space for 13 years. So it was like, how do you navigate that kind of conversation? And it was just like, I was just like, what are you talking about? And again, you're like, well, and my first thing is, maybe I didn't explain it correctly. So then I like take a step back and I'm like, so here's the situation. Cause I think we might not be on the same page, blah, 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 blah. And then again, it was like, so then I was like, thank you. Thank you for your time. Cause now you're like injecting fear or something else that wasn't already there
Exactly.
into this, and it's muddying everything. And then, so I was like, okay. I was like, okay, thanks for your thoughts. And then I happened to like stumble, and I think I shared this with you a little bit, that I'm in this book club that's like focused on ATRs. And there was like a recording from a session that they had done like last year at some event. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm part of this book club. I paid to be a part of this book club. Let me go through some of these videos, and like as I'm like cooking or whatever. And so I was looking through one, and this woman came up, and she's she's gone to seminary school. She's like a priestess in Lukumi. She's also like a pastor, and like she did all this stuff. Actually, and a really interesting woman, worked and opened, I think, some federal prisons and things like that. So she was like the chaplain there. So really, really just amazing woman. And her session was about just faith, and about like leaning into what you can't see, what you don't like, you can't touch, but and then not giving into the way that you're talking about, like giving it up to kind of spirit, or letting spirit guide you. That idea of like, you can't feed the like negative worries, the fears, and all of that stuff. You just kind of have to, all right, almost like in a meditation, you see it, the fear or that worry cloud kind of come through, and then you just let it like continue to float. And then you like put all your energy in like, listen, it's gonna be all right, or we're gonna figure it out, or it's gonna come to me. And so I was like, okay, all these things are happening for a reason, and what I need to be experiencing. But oh, it's been a week. That's the wrap up. It has been a week.
It's been a week for both of us.